everyone, and welcome to your NARSA weekly update for the week commencing Monday the 6th of May 2024. May already. Oh dearie me, it's the big month for us. It's Gary here again, and kind of like I said last week, we have a situation of status quo one more time with the our results matching our closest rivals' results, and we just have one game left. One game less to play for the remainder of the season to determine who is actually going to be league champions or not. It kind of feels like they're running out a wee bit, and I don't mean to sound negative on that, but of course it's just a literal mathematic fact that we only got 3 league games and the Scottish Cup final left to play, and 2 of those are away, of course. This week away at Sharkhead, and then we're at home to Dundee next midweek, and then we're away to Hearts on the last game of the season. And Hearts, obviously couldn't emulate what they had did earlier in the season at Sharkhead, and that gave them a 3-goal victory to match our 3-goal victory that we had yesterday. I don't know, folks. I really don't know. Is this going to be a magnificent May or a miserable May or a messy May? I don't know, any other M word that you can think of. As I said last time, I don't think any of us have absolutely any clue about what's going to happen over the next, what would that be now, just kind of over 3 weeks. I guess that's going to be just under 3 weeks, I guess it is. And then we're done for the season, and we will know whether, as I said last week, we end up with 1 trophy, we end up with 3 trophies, we end up with 2 trophies. I would love it to be 3. I would obviously take 2. And if it's 1, I guess it's 1. And that's just what we're going to have to live with as we move forward. Okay, so on to the game segment for this past week. Just the one game that I referenced there on the intro, and that was yesterday's 4-1 victory over Kilmarnock at Ibrox, courtesy of an own goal from Captain James Tavernier. It was off his hand as well. It makes it even more insulting. And then we endured a missed penalty from Tav. Do you know what? I don't know. There's different ways to describe how penalties don't go in, and this one was saved. I mean, this one was a brilliant save. The guy took 1 step over the line, so in the absolute laws of the game, their goalie I'm talking about, he should have been penalised for that, and Tav would have got a retake. But even then, that was a save. I mean, that was a brilliant save. The guy fully committed to dive into his right hand side and to put it round the post. I kind of say fair play on that one, and nothing that Tav did wrong. He chose a side. He hit it hard enough. He put it to a position that you would think most goalies wouldn't get to, and this guy just did on that one occasion. Fair enough. And then we enjoyed goals from Fabio Silva. I'll get his name right this week just for a wee change. Ben Davies, an absolute brilliant goal from Tom Lawrence, helped by Cyril Dessers, who didn't have his best game, but he did a lot to influence the ball breaking to Tom Lawrence during the lead-up play there. And the final goal from John Suter. Now, see if somebody had said at the beginning of the game, right, a couple of things. One, if we're going to win this game. We're going to win this game 4-1. I think every single Rangers fan in the world would have said, yes, please, I'll take it, thank you. That will do. Fair enough. Secondly, if someone would have said that you're going to get goals from Fabio Silva, Ben Davies, Tom Lawrence and John Suter, I don't know, like maybe the Silva and the Tom Lawrence one, you'd be like, yeah, okay, I could see that. Ben Davies, you would have been kind of like, who? What's that? And John Suter, he doesn't score a lot of goals, so and it kind of looked like that when he scored, didn't it? He didn't really know what to do with himself. So spreading the goals amongst the team is not a bad thing, and I think Philippe Clement has actually talked about that once or twice, that we don't score enough goals from different positions on the pitch. Our centre halves absolutely don't score enough goals, and our midfield don't chip in with as many as we would like and hope. And I guess if you compare that to other of the more successful teams, either in our country or elsewhere, you're probably seeing a bit of a mix on that. And it's not the first time we've had 4 different goal scorers. It's just this one made me think a wee bit, where we have 2 central defenders scoring in the same game against the team who are very well drilled and very well organised, albeit down to 10 men, of course. So yeah, just something that was a wee bit different, which was all right. In terms of the overall game, the first half the first half was very, very poor. I thought we did start kind of, I don't know, well, I was going to say, I don't know if that's the actual word that I want. We did start with some intensity. Let's just say that. I don't know that there was a lot of quality there, but we did start on the front foot for sure. And then, we've got a couple of opportunities. Their goalie puts a marker down to say, I'm going to waste at least 20 to 30 seconds every single time I get a goal kick here, and that's that. And the odd thing is, that's what he did even when Killie were losing as well. It was just like he was conditioned. This is the amount of time that I need to take, and the guy probably on his own, I imagine, wasted, coming up for about 10 minutes in the game, maybe 8 minutes or so. I don't know, I didn't count, but it was very, very annoying. But yeah, we got that incident, of course, where we ended up getting the penalty, which was the right award. I thought it was kind of harsh on their defender to get the red card. I appreciate that's the rules, but he didn't slap it away, he didn't palm it away. He's trying to tackle for the ball, his hands go out, they're in an unnatural position. I appreciate that. I would have felt kind of bad if that was Connor Goldson or Leon Balogun or John Suter or now Ben Davies, since we're going through all of our defenders now. But, it's one of these things. And then when you're down to 10 men, you're thinking, okay, my first thought, honestly, and again, glass half full guy, 99% of the time, I thought, we don't typically play well against teams with 10 men. For some reason, it's almost like we take a kind of, a mental dip, and they take a mental shift in the other direction, to kind of steel themselves for what's coming. And a lot of times it just becomes a little bit less of an enjoyable experience, an enjoyable game, and we kind of huff and puff. And that's kind of the story of the first half, isn't it? We had a few chances, but we were kind of just trying to figure out what they were doing and what we were doing. And, Kelly made a sub fairly quickly, and then we settled in. And then we got that goal just literally with the last kick of the ball in the first half. That changes the dynamic of the whole game, doesn't it? And then we're in a better situation, of course, for the second half. And the second half I thought was much better. And how many times do we say this, folks? It could and should have been so many more goals. We just don't put teams away. And by the way, this could be the scourge, the absolute scourge of our season. I was actually talking to my son Leo about that last week, saying, Cyril Dessers gets a lot of stick for missing some chances. Not the only guy in the team, by the way, not even by a long stretch. And at the end of the season, if we were to put a compilation together of some of the more easy chances that we've missed, and it goes down to goal difference, and we lose it on, say, for example, 5 goals, which is what it is right now, then I think we'll be quite disappointed, and that will give the management team hopefully food for thought, and something where we go from I don't even know what you would call our strike force, 1 in every 5 chances they score, something like that. There's probably stats out there that would tell us the exact number, but we need to go from a 1 in 5 goals to chances ratio to 2 or 3 to 5, something like that, to give us the best opportunity to make sure that goal difference doesn't become a factor and doesn't do us in. I don't know that I can actually remember, quite honestly, whether we've actually lost a league on goal difference before. I know we've won a league on goal difference. I was there when we beat Dunfermline 6-1 at Ibrox on the last game of the season a number of years back, but I don't know if we've actually lost it. I don't know how that's going to feel if that's the way that it happens, but we do have 3 games to go, so it might not even work out like that, and it doesn't even matter, but who knows? I don't know. Hopefully it's not the scourge of our season. And yeah, once we got going in the game, I thought it was very comfortable in the end. We had a lot more space. It was good to see us putting in the extra goals that we did get there, and giving us the opportunity not to lose any ground in terms of goal difference at the top of the table. The positives, of course, the result, recovering from Basely, which was their first real attack, and then I think they had a shot and goal that Jack Butland had a good save just over the hour mark, and that was their second shot on goal. So it wasn't, Killie are, obviously we hope Killie do something meaningful next midweek, if we can do the business on the weekend, but it wasn't a Killie team to be afraid of, I don't think, and anyway, we recovered well from their first real attack, becoming a goal. It was too easy for that ball to come in. You can see that teams are targeting that area of the field, that kind of looping ball over. Butland wasn't able to come out for the ball. The guy gets the ball back in. It's just very, very unfortunate for Taff for the ball to bounce off of him. another positive would be just before half time, of course, getting the goal, as I mentioned earlier. And I thought John Lundstrom's ball there was absolutely incredible to get in there. Silva's finish was great. Really, really good finish that he had as well, so good for him, because I know he's been getting a wee bit of stick of late. And Tom Lawrence's goal, as I mentioned earlier, absolutely incredible finish. What a brilliant goal. I mean, that's like 20 plus yards out there. He just picked his spot and went for it. And of course the centre halves getting on the score sheet as well. And I think a lot of our attacking play was exceptional, quite honestly, folks. And it was good to see after a turgid kind of first half. Negatives, yeah, first half was rough. I think we just the least said about that, other than the goal. The best for that, their goal was a mess. It's not something that we would like to repeat. Liam Barnigan being injured was a bit of a blow, and of course Ben Davies coming in, getting the goal is great for him. You can see he was delighted with that. And the challenge is, and we talked about this a wee bit on the NARSA communications group, is that central defensive partnership, that's easy for me to say, it could be at Sharkhead on the weekend, Ben Davies and John Souttar, and we all know what happened the last time that was our central defensive partnership there. Both of them absolutely contributed to goals lost. So I don't know, are they better now? I hope so. Better for the experience, maybe. We'll see how that goes, but whatever. Another negative, as I mentioned, was the goalie's time wasting. I just hate that. Just book him and get that organised. And the last thing I would mention is not scoring more goals. Just it would have been great just to another one or two, to make things a wee bit more different in the goal difference landscape. But a 4-1 victory is a 4-1 victory, and we just need to concentrate on getting the victories for right now. On our stats, we had, believe it or not, 74% possession, obviously aided by having an extra man for quite some time in the game. 24 shots on goal with 15 on target. Now, those 15 on target were ones that were just hitting off defenders' legs and stuff like that, because they were packing the box straight after they had actually not even straight after, before they had their man sent off. But to have that amount of possession, that amount of attempts on goal, and get 4 of that, I don't know, it just doesn't feel good enough. Versus Kelly's 4 attempts on goal with 2 being on target that I mentioned a wee while ago as well. On the referee watch, I'm not going to overdo this this week. David Dickinson, I think I mentioned the last time, he had a nightmare that I thought he was one of the better ones who was a wee bit unbiased, but he had an absolute, what's the word, like an absolute nutty first half in that game. VAR dictated that we had 8 minutes of extra time at the first half, which was great, of course, because we scored with the last kick of the ball in the first half there. But VAR just, they thought there might have been a penalty in the beginning. They send him over. He comes back saying, no, I don't think there was. And by the way, I honestly don't have any qualms with that, because what VAR did after that was they basically took 4 times the amount of time to actually say, is it worthy? Is it not worthy? Is it worthy? They should look at, how many angles did they get? 4 or 5 angles? I'm not exactly sure. They should look at that and then come to a consensus and an agreement right away and say, let's have him have a look at that. I know what I think. He gets to decide. Both. You could do that. Just click my fingers there, just in case that's not what you were expecting to hear. But then send the referee over. We can shave and save a lot of time from these incidents, and my understanding is that, of course, when you're at the ground, you don't see anything. Like, at least when we are here watching over in North America, you get to see basically what VAR sees, and you get that opportunity to kind of make up your own mind and start the kind of, I guess, the dialogue with your colleagues and stuff like that as you're watching the game. But you don't get any of that in the game, so it just becomes this absolute mess of blank or dead space where you're kind of looking at each other and blinking, and then I think probably a lot of people are on their phones looking at coverage from wherever it's coming from, and I guess the game was on Sky on the weekend as well. So yeah, nutty first half. I don't think he handled it well at all. I just think he was all over the place. And once again, I'm going to mention it, between now and the end of the season, he booked 3 of their players. Obviously red carded one as well, and he should have booked their goalie as well. Just a time wasting at the very beginning. First time he does it, warning. Second time he does it, yellow card. Then we don't talk about it for the rest of the game. But nope, he just decided not. And I don't know, none of our players were booked once again. And if we go in next week with that nice fair play attitude, we're going to be in trouble. It depends. I think next week, or this coming weekend, sorry, I should say, is all about mentality. I don't think it's about skill. I don't think it's about fitness. I don't think it's about league position or anything. It's about mentality. If we go there believing we can win, then we'll have a really, really good opportunity to do so. If we go there with the attitude and mindset that we've had over the last 2 or 3 years at least, then we're going to be in trouble. We know that. That's not nothing earth shattering, and it's certainly not nothing that you don't know already. And so anyway, back to the referee watch. I don't know, 6 out of 10, 7 out of 10, something like that. It was just a bizarre, weird performance that was just forgettable. He just didn't have a good game, and I don't think he was aided very well by his VAR assistants. Just the one game this week, of course, and it's the big one. I mean, obviously winning that game yesterday gives us the opportunity to make sure that we go there, and they don't. Even if we don't win the game, it's still mathematically possible that we do, and I hate that term. Of course, I hate that term. That we still manage to win the league. But of course, it's going to be very, very difficult to do that. But if we go there and win the game, of course, then we're in a really good position to put pressure on them and see how we go. So the game is Saturday, the 11th of May, and that's 7:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's 12:30 in the UK, and it's away at Sharkhead, of course. And we haven't enjoyed a good season against them at all this year. We had the 1-0 defeat at Ibrox back in the early stages of the season, which essentially was the beginning of the end of Michael Beale's reign. And then we had the 2-1 defeat just before New Year. And you know what? I mean, we got going a wee bit when the game was done, didn't we? It was 2-0. We never really laid a glove on them at all until it was 2-0 to have that brilliant free kick. We got a wee bit excited, never really created any exciting moments where we thought we could almost snatch a draw or anything like that. So, 2-1 is not exactly a reflection of how we contributed to that game, I don't think. And then we, of course, had the 3-3 draw at Ibrox last month with all the craziness of that game, in the beginning and the end. It was literally end-to-end goals and action and drama, and that was another one of those results that came on the back of, a couple of defeats sandwiching that basically ruined the league championship campaign for us at that point, up to that point. Anyway, so I was reading on the weekend there, I shared this with a couple of pals over the weekend, that Rangers have beaten Celtic just once since Steven Gerrard left, and he left in November 2021. So that's a fair amount of time away. What's that, 2.5 years to this point? And we've beaten them once, and by the way, you'll remember that was a 3-0 victory that we had at Ibrox last year when the league was already done, so it was a nothing game for them, and it was just a game for some semblance of pride and fun for us, and I think that says a lot. I think it really says a lot, and I think it comes down to motivation is probably the word that I would use. What I really said to the folks that I was talking to about this is that Steven Gerrard didn't fear them at all. In fact, he rose to the occasion every time we played them. He had a fantastic record against them in his time with us as manager, and he hated them, and he made us hate them, as in our squad, more than they hated us, and no one since then has managed to do that. Giovanni Van Bronckhorst didn't. Again, easy for me to say. And Michael Beale certainly didn't, and Philippe Clement has had 2 games now. He's had a look at them for 2 games, directly, up close and personal in terms of competitive action against each other, and he hasn't figured it out yet. So who knows whether he's going to be able to do that for us on Saturday or not. Of course, we are desperately hoping that he can. For RTV for this last week, London Rangers Supporters Club over in Ontario had an issue again. No one else has the same issue, but they assure us that they do indeed have the update's done, their laptop has enough processing power and such to do that. So it's a bank holiday back home today, so tomorrow we'll get an email over to RTV and get them connected to make sure that they have the right spec, that they have the right setup, because they don't want any of this sort of hassle at all come the weekend. This is a big game, and of course we've got a few big games between now and the end of the season, so we'll get that organised. It's so frustrating when that sort of stuff happens, it really is. So hopefully we'll get Eddie and Dave and the folks and Lorraine, of course, and the folks over there sorted out. On the shout outs, there's quite a few this week and a little bit sporadic on that. And firstly, I would like to wish a future happy birthday to my beautiful baby boy, the love of my life, Leo, who is 15 this Friday, the 10th of May. He never ever listens to the podcasts unless he happens to be here when I'm recording, so he will never get this, but it's just a little bit of an occasion to celebrate. We went out yesterday and got his birthday present, which was this big weightlifting bench caged thing that you can do pull-ups and all that sort of thing on. He's a little bit of a he wants to bulk up, and look super muscly like his dad, and so that's what we got him yesterday, and he'll hopefully get good use out of them. So yeah, happy birthday when it comes, my love. And also, speaking of birthdays, happy birthday to the magnificent one. That's what everyone has been saying today, isn't it? Mr. Graeme Souness. And Mr. Souness was honoured with the PFA Scotland Special Merit Award last night at the awards, which I'll come to in just a wee second here. But he's also celebrating his birthday today, the 6th of May as well. So on behalf of NARSA, I did get a chance to message him earlier, and he was very thankful for that as well. So very, very happy birthday to you, Graeme. And congratulations to Stephen Smith and the under-18s on winning the Scottish Youth Cup final last week. You might remember, if you listened last week, that I had just previewed the game by virtue of the fact in the Gers guide saying when the final was, which was last Wednesday at Hampden, and they had a come from behind victory. So good for them. It's always good to get the trophy winning as part of your psyche as a Rangers player, to say that's actually what we're here to do. Other players will go through their entire career and have very very much a successful career, certainly in terms of maybe stature in the game and opportunity to play in big games, but not a lot of medals, not a lot of trophies being hoisted, and that's just the way that the industry goes, of course. But yeah, good for them for doing that, and it's great to see you get a good bit of PR there. We also have the Las Vegas Loyal have put together a little bit of an event where they're going to have a party. Basically, they kind of called it a mini convention of sorts, but I guess it would probably spill in to the weekend, where on the Cup final weekend they're basically inviting anyone who happens to be in Las Vegas or feels like that they really should be in Las Vegas at that particular weekend to go there for the Scottish Cup final. I had a hope and a desire to basically go down there at some point. Once we of course knew that New York 2024 wasn't happening, we're kind of like, don't want to jinx the season, don't want to plan anything else. It would take a wee bit of a breather, use the time that we've been gifted to give ourselves an opportunity to rest basically and plan properly for 2025. But the folks over there at the Las Vegas Loyal are going to be doing that, and if you happen to be in the area, we've already reshared it on our socials. I'll try and see if I can find a link to their socials to get that out there at the same time. And if you're in the area, Jimmy and Drew down there, they don't need an excuse for a party, and they will do a great job and make you feel very, very welcome. I will be in Calgary hopefully celebrating with my family and friends here, but if you're over there, you're more than welcome to go. Here's a wee bit of a interlude, a bit of a personal interlude here, where I'm going to pop a link to a petition that is being spearheaded by, I don't know if it's been spearheaded by, it's been organised. Certainly it was presented to me by my brother-in-law Martin McLister from back home in Paisley, and what we've been hearing a lot of recently is a lot of arseholes basically back home toppling headstones at Hawkhead Cemetery, and we have some loved ones that spend their time in Hawkhead Cemetery, who've been buried there, and it's just disgusting. I mean, there's certain things that as a kid you think are funny, and then the older you get, the more you realise what a tool you've become, and this seems to be happening, and it seems to be that Renfrewshire Council aren't doing a whole hell of a lot about it. So I said that I would use my platform here for some good, hopefully, and I'll get the link to the petition. I'm actually looking at it right now, and we've got thus far 357 signatures, and we're hoping to get as many as we possibly can on that. I don't know if there's an actual minimum that gets it read or heard or in some way on a council meeting or council board meeting or something like that, but if you could spend a couple of seconds, go in and just give us a bit of support, that would be very, very much appreciated. It's actually Martin is doing this. Desi Barr is the fellow who's getting this organised, and he is Martin's boy's boss. It's all family friends and stuff like that. But anyway, if we could get that organised, that would be really good. Some of the defacing and general vandalism over at the cemetery there is just absolutely disgusting. So I'll put that link on, and hopefully you can give us a wee bit of support there. Back to the football. The women's team had a decent week. It wasn't what we were hoping for after the result today. Won against Hearts in midweek, a hard-fought victory and against Hearts, which is probably going to be replicated in the Scottish Cup final as well. But unfortunately, earlier today they drew 0-0, meaning that they are level in points with, I think it's 3 games to go, something like that. But they're about 13 goals behind, so they're actually in a worse position than the men's team are. And up next it's Glasgow City for them, then Hibs, then Partick. I don't recall certainly against Glasgow City for sure, but against Hibs and Partick, I don't recall them running up massive scores that would give us even a wee bit of semblance of hope of bringing those 13 goals back. And of course, the mob from the east are going to also be playing and probably putting in some goals as well. So unless there's some more drop points, it's going to be a very difficult order for them to win the league. But we're in the same position. Keep believing, as Big Marvin says, and hopefully we'll get ourselves organised. Staying on the women's team, Jo Potter was at the PFA Awards that I mentioned that Graeme Souness got his award at last night. She was named the Women's SPFL Women's Manager of the Year, and Nicola Docherty, Kirsty McLean, Rachel Rowe and Rio Hardy were named in the Women's Team of the Year as well. That's synonymous with success. Obviously if we don't win the league, we feel like it's a bit of a failure, but when you start to look at the building blocks and the periphery of the success factors, I think that is one where you get acknowledgement from your fellow professionals, from the football associations and such when it gets to awards time of the season. And speaking of that, the PFA goal of the season was indeed won by Rabi Matondo for the equaliser in the Old Firm game there a couple of weeks back, and Jack Butland, James Tavernier and John Lundstrom were named indeed in the team of the year. Last thing on the shout outs is that the Toronto Midtown Rangers Supporters Club of course have their cultural night with the Pride of the Birches Accordion Band from Portadown, Northern Ireland, and that's on Friday the 19th of July. It's going to be 5 minutes time, and I'm going to say this is next month, and then I'm going to say it's next week, and then I'm going to say I hope everyone enjoyed that. That's how time goes at this time. Just a quick reminder, there's no cover charge, but please do email tmrsc1998 at outlook.com to reserve your spot so that you don't miss out. Convention update time, I can officially confirm it's 402 days and 300, I don't even know what I'm reading here, 402 days and 57 weeks. Do you know why I started saying 300 there? I was already getting ahead of myself and talking about the next sentence, which was, or is, I guess I could say it now, we're going to be in the 300s next week, folks. That's how quickly time goes on. But let me get back to that. I'm going to try again. Take 2, 402 days and 57 weeks until we descend upon Kissimmee, which is in Osceola County, Florida, and that's June the 12th to the 15th. I think I've been saying on some previous pods the 12th to the 16th, and it's actually 12th to the 15th. I don't know why I said 16. I must have did a typo at some point in the past and got myself all a little bit mixed up. We are in the process of considering entertainment options, as I mentioned over the last couple of shows, and we did indeed have the formal joint communication that came out last week. It ended up being a little bit disjointed for my liking, to be perfectly honest, and we have a meeting with Rangers tomorrow morning just to make sure that we can set the scene for more success on the communications front as we go forward. There was a bit of tagging like online that we were missed on the tagging from Experience Kissimmee. They fixed that a little bit later on. Rangers did tag us on social media, hardly gave us a mention at all on the website, didn't put our logo in, didn't put my quote in or anything, so that's literally just not the way the communications are going to go for this convention. This is a NARSA convention. It's not a Rangers convention. It's not an Experience Kissimmee convention. It's a NARSA convention. So we'll get a wee bit more of a handle and a wee bit more ownership of the communications as we're going forward, and we'll get that organised with Rangers tomorrow. We've already had some online discussions with Experience Kissimmee about that. Still thrilled and delighted to have everyone as part of that, but that was our first major communication, and I was pretty disappointed by what Rangers put out on the website, to be perfectly honest with you, and we'll see what happens after tomorrow. Of course, the main point of the communication, which I gave the exclusive on last week, was that we are going to the Omni Orlando at Champions Gate, and that is in Kissimmee. If you don't know why I'm emphasising that, listen to last week's pod and you'll know why. We do have some updates that we've done to our NARSA website, and we'll get more updates this week, and we'll get a communication out a little bit later on where you can start to book your room. So we'll hopefully get that out, hopefully by Thursday. I was going to say Wednesday, but Thursday's probably a bit more realistic, and then you'll get an opportunity to book them, know that you've secured your spot there, and then we will continue to work our attentions over to the ticket pricing and get the tickets out there for sale as well. What we used to do in the past was basically have everything as a one-stop shop. What I think we'll do with the ticket sale specifically is we'll just take you to the convention page. So there'll be a note here that if you look at the NARSA website now, narsa.ca, you'll just see it says learn more, or for more information go here or something. There's a cracking wee counter there. It tells you how many days it is as well, real time. So, and then that takes you to the convention page. We'll put everything on the convention page so we're not cluttering up the main page. So as I say, look out for that. If you haven't checked out the convention page already, you can go ahead and take a peek at that and see, and hopefully build up a wee bit of excitement as we close in on this season and get ourselves in proper convention mode. On the communications front for this week, not a lot, you'll be glad to hear, because I know we're over the 30 mark already. The Gers Guide was published. I didn't see the loan review today, so I don't know when that's actually going to come out, but today we had the Inside Ibrox feature from the Kilmarnock game. On Tuesday, I imagine maybe there'll be the loan review or the Sam Lammers scores again review. I don't actually know. I didn't check whether he scored this past weekend, so maybe he did, maybe he didn't. I'm not sure. On Tuesday, the under-18s are playing against Kilmarnock, and you can follow that just basically on Rangers social media. Not a lot happening Wednesday, Thursday. Press conference for the Celtic game on Friday, and a preview of the press conference for the Glasgow City game. And the under-18s are also playing again on Friday against Aberdeen, a replay of the cup final from last week, and that's a 4 p.m. kick-off. It's 7:30 p.m. on Tuesday, by the way. And then Saturday, of course, is the big one, the Old Firm game, that's going to dictate, or certainly have a very, very big hand in dictating who is going to be the champions for season 23-24. And then on Sunday, Rangers women are playing Glasgow City, and that's at 4 p.m. UK kick-off time there. So big game for the women's team. You know, it's been up and down, to and fro. We'll see what happens. Obviously, Glasgow City had a draw against Celtic last week to put back to the points being level there, but the goal difference is the downer part of that. On the Euro 2024 pool, I kind of haven't done much about that the last couple of weeks, to be perfectly honest. Been busy on the communications and such for the convention, but hopefully we'll get that going and be able to determine whether we can actually put it on or not, because obviously time is marching on. I mean, that's probably 5 weeks until the Euro starts, something like that. On the NARSA newsletter, the quiz question for last week was, who did Rangers beat in the 1967 European Cup Winners' Cup semi-final? And of course, I knew this one absolutely right off the top of my head, and I'm sure you did too. It was Slavia Sofia. And yeah, I've never heard of them, and I don't even know if I'd remember that if someone asked me the answer to that next week. So Bobby's doing a great job of giving us some difficult questions. You'll see the next question on this week's newsletter when it comes out, when Lorraine gets it organised and sorted. And on the One Voice book, which is David Holmes' account of his time as chairman of Rangers, we now have a confirmed time for the interview. The interview is going to be on, I think it's Wednesday the 22nd. It's definitely the 22nd. I just can't remember if it's a Tuesday or a Wednesday. I'm fairly sure it's a Wednesday. And we're going to get that interview done. And I'm actually going to be interviewing both him and the author, Stephen, of the book at the same time. And apparently these guys are a good double act. So over the next couple of weeks, we'll get the questions organised, get the technology sorted, get that on play, and then we'll hopefully get the interview published by the end of that week, 24, 25. Oh no, I can't. The 22nd, 23rd, 24th. So it must be the Wednesday, because the 25th, of course, is the cup final date. So we'll get it published before the cup final date. Let me commit to that, and I'll look forward to chatting with Mr. Holmes and Stephen. Okay, my friends, that will do it for this week. As always, thank you very, very, very much for taking the time to listen. Please do share it with whomever you think might enjoy it as we build up to, I'm going to say, magnificent May. And listen to where you, or remember where you heard it first. That's probably the best way to say it. Let's see what this week brings. We simply need to just be better than we have been against them this last while. We need to go at them from the very beginning. We need to have to be awake at the beginning of the game, which would be kind of handy. And let's get the first goal. Let's do that, Rangers, for a nice wee change and see how they react, how they act and react to that, and how we act and react to that too. See where it takes us, and hopefully we'll get the result that we absolutely crave. Until next week, my friends, take care and all the very, very best, okay? Cheerio now.